Okay, guys, this week we have Usain Bolt tries soccer, Trump and Putin in Helsinki, and Australia to fight MH17. It's the 22nd of July 2018, and this is what's going on. Okay, first we have Usain Bolt. The publicity blitz around Usain Bolt's proposed trial for the Central Coast Mariners could cost the A-League club the opportunity to cash in on the Jamaican sprint star. Clubs from around the world have been alerted to the potential riches of an offering of signing Bolt, with the Mariners now facing a battle to get their 6-week trial over the line. So basically they want him to try soccer for 6 weeks to see if he can cut it, where other clubs are basically saying we're just going to sign him just because of the merchandise available. It seems teams in Turkey, Hungary and the United States are among those that have entered the race for the 8-time Olympic champion. Some of them are keen to offer Bolt a contract straight away rather than put him through his paces, as the Mariners intend to do. Central Coast CEO Sean Melkamp is he's in London now, attempting to seal the deal with Bolt and his longtime agent Ricky Sims and Australian Tony Rales, who first floated the 31's availability to the A-League. Sims stated on Tuesday the Mariners were only one of a number of clubs' options which are available and on the table for Bolt. Melkamp will also meet with Mike Phelan, the Mariners' new football director, who will reportedly be responsible for overseeing the trial when it happens, if it happens. If it doesn't, the Mariners will at least got their name out there. Independent media monitoring analysts conducted by the club show that 130 million people read about Bolt's link in the last 30 hours following the revelations. It would have cost them $4.5 million to buy the same amount of media coverage that was generated. Some have dismissed the brazen publicity stunt, while Football Federation Australia, who have been asked to tip in around $900,000 for their marquee player fund, it's just to get Bolt in there, which would be great for the clubs and also the A-League itself. Quote, "It's completely random." This is from Brisbane Roar striker Adam Target. End quote. Quote, "But I guess if the Central Coast are keen to do it, then that's up to them, and I'm keen if they're keen." End quote. So with this deal, what an amazing chance for marketing for the A-League itself. Not just the Mariners, but just for A-League. Getting people in seats, people buying jerseys. The money of it that he'll bring is just amazing. I know he has to have ability, but just on the jersey sales alone, Mariners, please don't stuff this up. Sign him, get him over here, play some soccer. It'll be great for everyone. Everyone will enjoy this. All right, the Helsinki summit. We're going to talk about what Trump and Putin talked about within the summit. It was difficult to work out what was agreed on, but some details have emerged in the wake of the meeting. The Trump-Putin summit in Helsinki was a off-the-cuff, informal diplomacy conversation in which Donald Trump sort of specializes in. I'd say he always likes to talk off the cuff. The absence of an agreed statement leaves secret the status of and the extent of the practical agreements reached in between the US president and his Russian counterpart. But in the two leaders' meeting in the joint press conference on Monday, subsequent interviews and briefings, the outlines of some of what they talked about emerged. So they talked about economical relations. Basically, Putin, on his Fox interview, argued that Russia was too large of a country to be sanctioned and isolated, but Trump was not asked in the press conference about the future status of the sanctions. Putin appears to be banking on the working party consisting of captains of industry to open a dialogue for future economic relations, pointing out that US trade into Russia's market is minuscule in comparison with what the EU does. Putin is hopeful that business voices can call the sanctions to be lifted. They also talked about Crimea a little bit, which is basically states the single greatest barrier to sanctions being lifted remains the Russian annexation of Crimea. Putin, in his Fox News interview, said he and Trump had discussed about the status of Crimea. In effect, the two men agreed to differ. So basically, Crimea is a peninsula on the north coast of the Black Sea in the Eastern Europe. Putin's position on Crimea voted in referendum to return to Russia, and this vote should be accepted, just as the Falkland Islanders voted in the referendum to remain part of the UK. There's the speculation with all of this and the stuff that's involved with NATO as well. So they also talked about Syria. The assumption of both leaders' remarks was the civil war in Syria was coming to a close, but Putin defended the need to crush terrorists in the southwest of Syria while keeping the forces in Syria and Israel separated, referring specifically to the Treaty of 1974 that ended up designating lines separate from Israel and Syria. All right, justice search continues for MH17 victims. Foreign Minister Julia Bishop hasn't given up on getting accountability and justice for the victims of the Malaysian Air Flight's flight MH17. Be about a month back, we actually found proof that it was actually Russia was shot this down. So good on her for trying to fight for it, but I don't know if you're going to get blood out of stone out of Russia. But 4 years after the 38 Australians died when the Malaysian Airlines flight MH17 was shot out of the sky, Australia is still looking for answers. Foreign Minister Julia Bishop says Tuesday's 4th anniversary of the 2014 disaster was time to keep on pushing the point that people have to be held accountable for this. She quotes, "We remain resolute in pursuing accountability and seeking justice for the victims and their loved ones," end quote. Mrs. Bishop has met in the past week with Australian Federal Police for a briefing on the investigation of the downing MH17. Next week, during a visit in the UK, Mrs. Bishop will raise the issue with the new Foreign Secretary, Jeremy Hunt. Quote, "Australia values the UK's strong support, including the UN Security Council, in calling on Russia to answer for its actions in relation to the tragedy," end quote. She also quotes, "Holding Russia responsible for its role in downing the MH17 flight is vital," end quote. Australia and the Netherlands have requested negotiations with Russia over the circumstances behind the attack on the plane. Mrs. Bishop will also meet with the new Malaysian Foreign Minister in August to discuss the MH17 flight. I'm glad that she's still pushing for this. I don't know if she's going to get anything out of it. Maybe if all the other countries can come together and push the point to Russia, there may be, I don't know, is there compensation they're looking for? We need to understand what they're actually trying to do and trying to get out of Russia. All right, guys, it's the Fast Five time. Number 1, desperate landlords are having to slash rents to get city dwellers to move into their properties, as the new data shows that cities are littered with empty homes. While there's a mixed picture for Melbourne and Brisbane, Sydney has just recorded its highest vacancy rate in at least 13 years. Its research figures show that 2.8% of the city's units and houses are now sitting unoccupied. That adds up to 19,572 residential rental dwellings estimated to be sitting vacant and available for rent. And experts state that this could signal a dramatic slowdown in the city's economy. Right, number 2, Malcolm Turnbull has stated, quote, "Real concerns about Sudanese gangs," end quote, in Melbourne, and defending earlier remarks by Peter Dutton suggesting people were afraid to go out for dinner in the Victorian capital because of the African gangs. Asked whether Dutton had provoked racial hatred with his comments, Turnbull stated, quote, "Nonsense," end quote, to suggest that he was adding, he's simply seeking to do the best job for the area, as the Minister for Home Affairs is responsible for domestic security and migration. Number 3, we do the Boomers Brawl. We talked about this the other week, and they've actually come down and started handing out some fines. So the Boomers, Daniel Kickett has a 5-game suspension. Thor Maker has a 3-game suspension. Chris Goulding has 1. And Basketball Australia has been handed a fine of $135,000. Now the Philippines players, 10 Philippines players have been banned, and the National Federation fined $337,000. All right, number 4. 4 Alabama police officers have been suspended without pay after the city's mayor says that they made a hand gesture associated with white supremacist movements in an official photo. I'm going to put a photo up here. This is what it is. So the local news station ABC 33 reports that 4 officers in the Jasper Police Department were suspended on Tuesday after a photo appeared in the Daily Mountain Eagle showing that 4 men making the OK gesture with their hands, which some say is meant to look like the letters WP for White Power. The Anti-Defamation League, which tracks a hate group and hate speech, has said that it's an okay gesture and it's not linked to any sort of supremacy movements. All right, number 5. Police have reportedly arrested and suspended Mayor of Queensland, the city of Logan, Luke Smith. Smith was charged by the Crime and Corruption Commission on corruption and perjury allegations in May and has vowed to defend the charges. The Courier Mail reports Smith was arrested on Friday morning and is being held at a police station for questioning. It'll be interesting to see what he's actually been done for, like a mayor of a city being arrested. Fair enough. We'll see how this one goes. Alright guys, that's it for the weekly news review. If you've liked this, please leave a like. If you really like it, please subscribe and don't forget to hit the bell. This will also let you know of upcoming videos and specials. If you want to contact me, please contact me on wgoadamelder@gmail.com or Facebook or Twitter or the comments in YouTube. Till next time, enjoy yourself.